Hey, it is almost May, and that means it is time to set up our bullet journals. First up, sorry about that pun. I could not resist, I had to do it. And second, I was vaguely inspired by the Wes Anderson trend that is going around right now. I've never actually seen a movie, so I admit I was 100% inspired by the trend, but I'm going to look into it very soon. So I discovered something new, which is good. That's what I think the best part of these trends is when you actually take a moment to look deeper into something, which is something that I try to be intentional about doing. And look, my cover page is already well underway. I actually wish I would have stopped about right here with these details. I think bam, right there could have been perfect, but I kept going. We're using 6 colors, 3 different hues with 2 tones of each hue, and I'm just drawing some funky little shapes with no real plan in mind, just sort of an asymmetrical, funky, modern-ish look, and I think it was really fun to draw, and I think the overall effect is pretty pleasing to the eye, so that's always nice. I don't think that I've ever used anything similar to this color palette before, but I really, really like the effect. I think it is the perfect spring into summer color palette, which is perfect because summer is very, very close. To me, summer is June. I don't care what the calendar or the summer solstice might try to say. Summer begins the second that school is out, which is going to be very, very soon. I graduate in less than a month, which is wild, wild, wild to be saying, but I'm very excited. And this theme, I think with all of these shapes, I think they can just kind of capture the absolute plethora of emotions that I'm going through right now, most of them being very, very positive. I will note that this cover page took forever, probably about 30 minutes, which is about the amount of time it usually takes me to do my entire setup, and I'm not sure that all of that time was entirely worth it. However, I am very pleased with the end results. I guess in a way it was, although I did decide to ultimately go back through and darken up the May and the rest of the other words just because they were a little bit hard to see in real life. I think on camera they show up just fine, but ultimately I grabbed my tombow marker and went back through, just darkened it up a little bit. I think it did change the overall feel just to have that heavier font, but it works and it looks good. And with that final detail, that brings our cover page to completion. So just one more second there. I'll wait for my past drawing self to catch up, and we are done. And next is the calendar. I actually contemplated making the calendar sideways and actually doing the entire cover spread sideways, with May being on the left and vertical instead of horizontal, but ultimately I decided against that, although I might do that for June instead. Sneak peek, not really, hasn't happened yet. And instead I ultimately decided to just do with what I've been doing with one little twist. My calendar spreads are usually very, very minimal and simplistic, almost too simplistic, I feel. And so this time I tried to spice it up just a little bit, add a little bit more pop and pizzazz for that side of the page. And right now you can't see me doing anything yet. I'm just drawing the boxes out with a pen. And now I'm going to add just 3 lines of color in every other box. And this is really simple, but I think it just kind of draws the eye towards the left side of the page as well, because again, I just feel like it doesn't get enough love. I wanted to add just a little bit more, and so I'm also going through and coloring in the other boxes with purple, and again, boom, finishes it. And now I feel like I pushed myself just a little bit out of my comfort zone and it succeeded. So, there's a good moral there. Also, as I'm looking at this, I realized that I forgot to color in one of the squares, and I did not notice at all during the many times that I've flipped back to this page. So that's interesting. I guess that goes to show that the little mistakes that you make are very unnoticeable, even to a trained eye. I used my Tombow Fudenoski to write the days of the week and then each of the calendar days, and I'm centering the numbers in the top of this square instead of the left or right, and then I am using the yellow Tombow marker to do a this month category, which is something that I usually do for all of my calendar spreads, as opposed to individual sections or anything like that. It's just a little bit easier for my mind to organize it that way. And we are done, and on to the next pages. This next page makes my heart very happy. On my last plan with me for April, we gained almost 100 new subscribers, which almost just about doubled this little corner of the internet. My goal for this summer is to continue making videos, and hopefully a little bit more than I have been doing in the past few months before I start college and might pick up the pace a little bit in terms of school, although I do plan to continue showing off different parts of my life, including, of course, my bullet journal. And so this is a tracker for this summer. My goal is 1,000, which would be amazing, but y'all are already here, so no pressure. And I have no idea what or when that might happen, but I would sure hope that it does. Seeing that number tick up is still very much so a surreal experience, and I'm not sure I'm ever going to get used to waking up to the notification that I have a new subscriber. Speaking of summer goals, another goal of mine is to place a little bit more emphasis on exercising and making that a consistent part of every day and not just something that I do once or twice a week. What I found best motivates me to make exercising a consistent part of my daily routine is to have 3 different levels, if you will, of difficulty. One being an easy, one being sort of regular, and one being when I have a lot of energy and I really want to push myself. What those routines look like is something that I'm still working on, and so I didn't put it into ink just yet. I also included a notes section on that page just to record anything that I feel is important or will help me figure out what kind of changes I need to make or anything like that. And I'm going back and inking the YouTube tracker just because I didn't do that earlier, and it definitely looks better in pen than it did in pencil. I'm very satisfied with how May's monthly setup turned out. I'm also very excited for what the month of May is going to look like, and I hope you are just as excited as I am. While I was erasing this page, I did bend it up a little bit, but it still looks okay. I've tried to flatten it out and it just will not, but it's not a huge deal. And I hope you enjoyed planning with me, watching me plan whatever you chose to do, and I hope that you have a wonderful day and a wonderful May. And I tell you, I'm sorry for that pun, but I'm not.